Hello children, I welcome you all to our English class of class 6. Today we are going to discuss about some of the vocabulary and grammar given in our unit 4. So let's focus on that. Under vocabulary, let's know about group nouns. Group nouns are collective nouns taken as a collection of things or people which is taken as a whole. Some of them which cannot be grouped are not specific to one kind. They can be called as group of people or group of animals. When they are so specific, we can give some terms. Let us look at them. A mob is a group of some people gathered for destructive purpose. Board, a number of directors of a company. Troupe, a number of artists, dancers or acrobats. Army, a number of soldiers. Bench, a number of judges. Crowd, people collected without any specific purpose. Audience, a number of people listening to a concert or lecture. Team, a number of players. Spectators, a number of people watching a match or something together. So children, these are all different group nouns discussed in your textbook under vocabulary. You to find out some group nouns or collective nouns on your own interest. That will be quite interesting, right? Yes, try to do them. Children, let us see some more examples of collective nouns. Collective nouns are differently given for persons, things and animals. Let us see some examples. Try to remember them as they are discussed. A company of actors, a cast of actors, a staff of employees, a circle of friends, a flock of birds, an ambush of tigers, an army of ants, a pack of wolves, a batch of cakes, a carton of milk, a bale of cotton, etc. So children, these are all a group of things which are similar and put together. So they are given a different name. Try to remember by the name that they are discussed with. Now let us discuss writing noun forms. This is another category discussed under vocabulary section. What are noun forms and why should we write them? What do they describe? Let's know them. Noun form for a given verb is a countable or uncountable part of a verb. So children, here you have to understand that a verb always describes an action. Verb is an action word. So for that you are going to write a countable word or an uncountable word that describes it. Okay. So let's focus on them. Example, write. Write is a verb which is an action word which you are writing. But when you write it already, your written work is called as a writing, that is uncountable, and it is the noun form for it. Similarly, played, that is a verb form. For that, the noun form is playing. Exploring, it's continuous tense, it's verb. Explore is a noun form for it. Act, it's a verb. Action, that is a noun form. Choose, verb form. Choice, noun form. Collect, verb form. Collection, that is a noun form. Add is what you do, that is an action. Addition, what you generally do, that is the uncountable part of it, so that is noun form. Adjust, that is the verb form. Adjustment, it's a noun form. Confuse, verb form. Confusion, it's a noun form. So when you are writing the noun forms, you have to understand that it either will be a countable part or an uncountable part of a verb. So believe is what you do as an action. Belief is something that is taken as a noun form. So children, concentrate on writing noun forms. This is quite exciting, right? So now let's discuss about direct and indirect speech given under grammar section. Let us know about direct speech and indirect speech. Most of you, I guess, are confused what this is. Children, don't get confused. First, let's know from the basic. What is speech? Speech is nothing but what you talk. So here, direct speech and indirect speech are two ways of reporting what somebody said. Let's know about direct speech first. It's the exact and actual words spoken by a person which are placed within inverted commas is called as direct speech. And how do we remember and recognize this direct speech? That is nothing but it always begins with a main clause which includes the speaker and a reporting verb. Okay, and it is always followed by a comma and exact words of the speaker which is enclosed in the quotation marks. So this is how you can identify a direct speech. Okay, let's know from an example. Ravi said, I am an engineer. So Ravi said will be the main clause where Ravi is the subject or the speaker and said is the reporting verb, and after that, as it is said, it is followed by a comma. And what are the exact words of Ravi? He is present within inverted commas. He is saying that I am an engineer. Okay, so this is a direct speech sentence. You have to identify this comma, quotation marks, everything well placed. So that will be a direct speech. Sometimes note that the quoted words can come in the beginning of this speech, like I need to attend an interview, Ravi said. Okay, so here the quoted words are coming before Ravi's dialogue or whatever it is. So it is said and it is saying that it is said by Ravi. So now let's look at this. How do we identify and how do we understand that this is an indirect speech? Indirect speech is also called as a reported speech. Why? Because what someone has already talked, you are reporting that, right? So that is why this is named as reported speech, or it's an indirect speech. Yes, we report what speaker said without quoting his exact words. Why? That is what we are going to throw focus on. Let's know about it. So let's begin with an example here. The same example, Ravi said, I am an engineer. We are changing that into indirect speech. So Ravi said will be the same in both the places. Ravi said, after removing the comma, we are placing a connector that here, that. So I am an engineer. It is Ravi who is an engineer. So I am saying that he was an engineer. So you are changing even the pronoun according to the subject and you are changing the tense. The tense will always change to past tense in the indirect speech. So Ravi said, I am an engineer is direct speech sentence, for which Ravi said that he was an engineer is an indirect speech sentence. Now, Ravi said something like, I need to attend an interview, second one. So now we are changing that into indirect speech. He needed to attend an interview, said Ravi. So I is changed to the respective pronoun he. Need will become past tense. So that is why it is needed. He needed to attend an interview, said Ravi. So like this, children, you have to understand and change the pronouns, change the tense when you are changing. Remove the comma and you are going to remove the quotation marks and you are going to place the connector. In this way, you are going to remember certain things when you are changing from direct speech to indirect speech. Let's know more rules here. There are certain changes which we should actually notice while we are changing a sentence from direct speech to indirect speech. So what are those rules? We have to change tense, pronoun and other words in reported speech, like I have said in the before slide. So when we are changing a sentence, anything that is said by the speaker into indirect speech, make changes in pronouns, tense, places and sometimes, children, you have to notice and check whether the statement given by the speaker is a fact or a general statement. Okay, if it is a universal fact or a scientific fact or an habitual action, liking or disliking, you need not change the tense unlike other changes. So remember this and make the changes. So you have to think about making changes in place and time. Like today will become that day, now will become then or at that moment. Yesterday will become that day before, days ago, days before, last week, the week before, next year, the following year, tomorrow will become the next day or the following day. Here, there, this, that, these, those, ago, before, or previously, tonight, that night. So, place and time you have to take care, and you have to change these words when these are mentioned in the words which are given by the speaker within the quotation marks. You are going to replace these words into the words which are given in the words in reported speech column. Okay, remember them. Then you have to even change the tense, like will change to would, can, could, must, have to will change to must, and had to, may or might, should will be should, ought to will be ought to. So always remember the tense will be the next past tense. Okay, next you have to even take care of the pronouns when it is I, we, you, my, our, your. How will you change that? It will become he or she when it is I, we will be they, you will be either he, she, they, my will become his or her, our, their, your will become his, her, they. So like this you have to understand these changes and remember them. For this you have to practice, children. If you try to simply mug up them, you might not get any interest. So keep practicing by taking some examples from sentences so that you will remember them better. There are certain changes that you have to remember, and when you are changing the tense, the present simple tense will change to past simple. Like I am will change to I was, like that. So present continuous tense, I am eating, will change to I was eating. So past continuous tense, past simple will become past perfect, means here you will be adding had. Okay, so like this, present perfect will become past perfect, will plus future whatever it is will become would and bare infinitive, can will become could, have to will become had to. An imperative sentence, any statement will become to infinitive, then to plus the verb will be added there, of course. So kindly notice these changes. It is not a single day's task, children. You have to focus and practice this. When all these words and all these rules are in your brain, the changing that is done by you from direct speech to indirect speech will be a cakewalk for you. It will be an easy task. Okay, try to learn them. So children, when we are changing a sentence from direct speech to indirect speech, I guess by now you know what are the necessary changes to be made, right? So make changes in pronouns, tenses, place and time, just like what we discussed in the before slide. There are certain rules even to be discussed. Let's know them and also discuss them along with examples. Let's discuss them. Rules here are like when you're changing anything from direct speech to indirect speech, when you're removing this comma, and you have to remember that when you remove this in indirect speech, you are going to add the connector that. Okay, so I already mentioned this, like that must be inserted. Let's see this with an example. He said, I do not like pasta. So I removed this commas and inverted commas in indirect speech. He said that he did not like pasta. Do not will become did not. Why? Because we are changing the tense to past and we have added a connector that. Okay. Next rule. When there is an object in reporting verb, change said to. Said to. Whenever you see this in direct speech, said to, you have to change that to told in your indirect speech. Remember this. And says, whenever it is says, it will change to tells. Okay, don't change all the reporting verbs whenever you see into told. Only said to will change to told, said to will change to told, and says will change to tells. Okay, now let us look at the examples. He said to me, you have been a great help. Said to is there. So how we are going to change that? He told me that I had been a great help. Okay. So said to changed. You have been. So it is you means I. So now I'm changing that particular pronoun there. I had been. Have been will become had been. Okay. Then next one. He says to me, my teacher is highly educated. Says will change to tells. Let us note that. Okay, he tells me that his teacher is highly educated, and we are not changing the tense here. Why? Because that is something that we need not change. It is happening exactly right now. So it will be, it need not be a past, it will be the same. So kindly note this, and let's also throw some focus on some more examples here. Okay, when we are changing a sentence or something that is the words of the speaker, we have to change the pronoun that is based on the subject there. Okay, and how we are changing? Tina said to me, you are late. Tina said to me. Okay, so said to is their children. So I have to change it to told. Tina told me that you are late. I should not write like that. Tina told me that I was late. Okay, and of course it is a past tense. Now we have to consider a sentence where there is a change in tense. Ram says to Sita, I am busy. The present tense of the verb here between the quotes remain unchanged in indirect speech. Why? Why? Because here says is given. Okay. So he is then busy. Let's know what is indirect speech sentence for that. Ram tells Sita that he is busy. Just now we are discussing. It's still in the present tense. Okay. We need not change into past tense. Next one. Remember this, children, we have already discussed when there is a universal fact or truth, please don't change the tense. Okay, the direct speech sentence will be the teacher said. The sun rises in the east. This is a universal fact and there need not be made any change in the tense. The teacher said that the sun rises in the east. Okay, children, kindly note all these things in your mind and try to practice more and more sentences. Practice can only make you perfect. So don't mug up these rules and don't confuse yourself. Practice one sentence for each rule and you keep on solving other examples given in your textbook as well. So I think that it will be a useful tutorial. So children, now let us solve some examples where we are changing some direct speech into indirect speech. Remember all the rules that we have discussed and kindly solve them. Sindhu is my daughter, said Ramakrishna Reddy. So I am changing this into indirect speech where the answer will be Ramakrishna Reddy said that Sindhu was his daughter. So is changed to the past tense and it becomes was. My, I am changing that pronoun. It is his daughter. It is not my anymore. So those were the exact words of the speaker. So it will be his daughter. Kindly note these changes. Second one, Anil said, Satish swims daily. Okay. So the past tense change is in the verb there. Swims will become swam. Anil said that Satish swam daily. And I am not putting inverted commas or commas in the indirect speech. If you are repeating that in indirect speech sentence, that is a big blunder that you are making. Please don't do that. Okay, children. Third one, Ravi said, I can do the sum. Ravi said that he could do the sum. So I'm removing this comma and placing a connector. I'm removing the quotation marks. I will become he. Why? Because it is the words of Ravi. Can will become could, the past tense of the verb. Do the sum will be the same. Next one. She said to me, I am ill. Okay, so here again we find this said to. So I'm going to change that to told. She told me that I should not write I am ill. It is she who is ill. So I will write she was ill. She told me that she was ill. Next one. It is a question. Remember children what we discussed about universal facts? The teacher said the earth moves around the sun. This is a universal fact. So we need not change the tense. So how do we change it? The teacher said that the earth moves around the sun. I hope you all understood this, children. Please practice with some more examples. Okay. Children, I guess you understood the concepts that we have discussed today, writing noun forms and changing from direct speech to indirect speech and all, group nouns, whatever children. It requires a lot of practice from your side. So, change a lot of sentences, pick up them, identify them. So, practice surely makes one perfect. And thank you for staying with me in the class and wish you all happy learning. Let's meet in the next class.